Hey, Aaron Adams here with Infinity Investing. This is our real estate mistakes series, our common mistakes that beginners make. This is the third segment in that series. The first one we covered, let's see, we got it here. We covered high value, low value activity focus. We covered who your first employee should be, why you need to get your entity set up for tax reduction. When you make money was what we covered in our second series. What is a good return was something that we broke down, and we focused on getting money versus getting deals. So the third area of common mistakes that beginners make that I want to cover, and this is the final series in this segment, and then we're going to move on to the kind of intermediate mistakes that investors make. There's three areas. Let me actually make these a little bit bigger because those are kind of small. Just adjust on the fly here. Three things that I want to cover for you today, and if you haven't seen those first two videos, you're going to want to go back and watch them because they kind of evolve in a linear fashion. There's some things that I explain and then build on for you. The first one is that beginning investors don't run the numbers correctly before they buy a deal. So they'll say to me, hey, I can buy this property for $50K, it needs 10, and we can sell it for 100. So we're gonna make $40K on our 60, so we're gonna make 66%. And I'm like, okay, well, what about your pad for construction? Isn't construction going to be between 10 to 12 or 14? And you know, hopefully you can sell for 100, but what if you can only sell for 95? And then what about commissions? And what about closing costs? And aren't there unpaid taxes on this? And what about insurance? And what about utilities? And there's a lot of expenses that people forget. And it brings up something that we call in real estate. They have what are called pro formas. P-R-O, Formas, F-O-R-M-A-S. And sometimes when you buy property, they'll put together this slick marketing presentation, and it'll say, you know, for example, on an apartment complex, when all of the rents are brought up to the maximum rent for the area, and once you've corrected all of the mistakes and fixed all the improvements and when this property is being run perfectly, this is the return you'll make. You'll make 10% a year on your money at 10 cap. That's a pro forma. So pro forma is a wishful, best case scenario. This is what I want to make on my return. And then you get 12 months down the road and you say, oh, okay, well, I didn't make 10% on that apartment complex. We had water damage and we had extra repairs, and then there was bed bugs, and then we had termites. We really made 7%. Pro forma versus actuals. Beginning investors tend to be pro forma. They focus on the highest potential sale, the lowest amount of rehab. They gloss aside the expenses and the surprises, and they don't contingency for mistakes. And you want to, especially when you're beginning. I mean, look, if you've done 50 flips, then you can start to use better numbers. But when you're beginning, everything should be padded. And so I meet a lot of people that end up losing money on deals or going, yeah, by the time I got through that deal, I didn't make any money. Right. Because if it's new for you, just assume that you're going to make mistakes. Build the mistakes in. And mentally, that's going to make you be a better investor as well. And so learning to run the numbers based on conservative numbers, based on actuals, maybe even getting numbers from a mentor or a coach who can help you, is always going to be better than just wishfully thinking your way through the numbers. And I can't tell you how many times in the first 5 years, my pro forma never matched my actuals. And I stopped doing pro formas and I started focusing on what's my realistic actual expectation based on everything I've learning and all the ways I've lost money up until this point on deals. Because you'll lose money in one way or another on every deal. It could be a toilet that's running, so the water bill, you get this ridiculous water bill, you've lost money. It could be a contractor that says that they can put a roof on a property and they have only done it a few times, and so they put a lousy roof on the property. Maybe you have to pay to redo it. You can lose money. And so expect to lose money. Expect to have areas, leaks in the boat. Bring a bucket with you to bail them out, and you'll be a better investor for it. Avoid that rookie mistake. The next one, a common mistake that I see beginners make is they don't think of annualized returns. And so they'll say, hey, I'm doing pretty good. I made 10% on my $100,000. And I say, all right, well, how long did it take you to make that money? And they'll say it took 1 year. And so their annualized return is simply 10%, which, if you remember from our previous series when we talked about what a good return is, that's not a good return for active income. And they'll say, well, I made 10,000 on my 100,000. Well, that's not great. Because what if you were able to make 10% on your 100,000 in 6 months? Well, in 6 months, at the end of the 6 months, you could reinvest it. And what if you could do 2 deals and make 10%? And so over the course of 12 months, you were able to make 10,000 and then 10,000. So now you've made $20,000. You've made 10% twice. So your annualized return is 20% on your money. Or what if you were able to take $100,000 and do a wholesale deal, buy a deal that you were able to sell for $10,000 after a month? What's your annualized return? If you could do that 12 more times, your annualized return is 120% on your money. Now, I have found when it's active income for me, I'm able to make an annualized return of somewhere between 40 to 75% on my money. I've learned that over 21 years, over thousands of deals. But you need to start thinking about annualized returns, because how long it takes to make that money is just as important as what the return is. So don't just say, I made 30%, that's a good return, because if you made 30% over 30 years, that's a bad annualized return. You would have been better off just putting your money in an index fund and parking it in the market, a lot less heartburn. And so, yes, what you made on the money matters, but also how long it takes. And so you as an investor need to learn how to calculate annualized returns, speak in terms of annualized returns, because, if you can make even, let's say, I bought a property at the auction a few years ago for like $100,000, and I had an investor come up to me afterwards and he said, man, I didn't have enough money to buy that. I'll give you $5,000 in 2 weeks for it. Now, I didn't really want the $5,000, so I said no. But what if I said, my annualized, at 2 weeks, if I could make 5% in 2 weeks, that's 10% in a month. That's 120% annualized return. That's a pretty good return to make $5,000. I'll just bring the $100,000 right back to the auction the next month. And so it changes the way you think about deals, and it changes the way you think about your performance on projects, and whether you say, yeah, I'm going to give myself a ribbon. I did a great job. I earned a trophy on this one. Or were you saying, it wasn't great? I mean, when I was building homes, I realized that as a developer, as a builder, my annualized returns were not good. They weren't what I thought they should be for active income. Even though being a developer and building custom homes is sexy, and people are like, oh, that's cool. I've wanted to get into that. And I'm helping people build their dream home. My annualized returns sucked, and I said, I don't want to be a builder anymore. It's not worth it. The annualized returns aren't worth it. So think of annualized returns as an important thing to learn about. The final kind of beginning mistake that investors make is that they focus on sexy instead of yield. And the classic example, just to build on what we were saying, being a developer, if I said to you, and maybe you're just getting into real estate, and say, would you rather be a developer and do custom homes, or would you rather flip mobile homes? And most people, not knowing anything and assuming it's not a trick question, would say, well, yeah, I'd rather be a developer. That sounds cool. And there's this hierarchy of real estate that you need to eliminate from your vocabulary, because I know that there's certain things that people say to me, well, I'm kind of drawn, I want to do commercial, or I'm not interested in single family, I want to do multifamily. And what you're really saying is I have this hierarchy already in my head of what I want to do and what I think is cool or what I think is sexy. And I don't want you to think about that, because, let's say you're from Boston and I said to you, look, there's no money in developing right now. There's very little money in commercial. Multifamily is a tough game. It's very competitive. but you can make annualized returns of over 40% flipping mobile homes. At the very least, as an investor, as a savvy investor, not a rookie, you should entertain the idea of doing mobile homes simply because the returns in Boston are better than many other real estate investing strategies. And the point that I'm making is where you live, the opportunities that exist for you with the amount of money that you have, with the amount of time on your hands, are very specific to you. And so you don't want to be drawn to flipping houses because you've been watching those on reality shows. You want to focus and get a personalized plan that allows you to maximize the amount of money that you can make for the amount of time that you have to spend. That's what savvy investors do. Rookies say, I want to flip single family homes because I really love this couple that I follow on the flipping shows. Don't do that. We all tend to do that, but I don't want you to do that. Hopefully these 3 series of beginner mistakes have been valuable for you. Next week, I'm going to sit down and record another set for intermediate, so on and so forth. So hopefully you join us on these. These are valuable for you. We enjoy putting them together and look forward to having you not only join us here, but at our live events as well.